Thank you. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. So I was thinking last week, or maybe 10 days ago, what's my title? What's my title? And I thought I was going to talk about something else entirely. But what came to mind was follow your peaceful preference. And this is a phrase that Hugh Prather used to share with us often at the Dispensable Church in Santa Fe, New Mexico. In the mid-80s, early 80s, he formed a church. And it was people like us who came to listen to one person. He was a great teacher, a counselor, author of 15 books. And I found 3 of them last Tuesday. The other day, I found 3 of them in the library. One of them had my name in it. So I'm going to talk about these 3 books, and I usually don't do anything like this, but I couldn't help myself. It's what I was told to do, apparently. Oh no, where did this come out of? Obviously, I wasn't supposed to give you this quote. That's funny. So he wrote these books with Gail, his wife, and he was a great student of the Course in Miracles, which I dread talking about at all because of the confusing language that I find. But I do read the Course in Miracles occasionally, but I try not to understand anything. Apparently that's one way to do it. What? It's yeah, exactly. It's a. So if we could live our lives this way, we'd be much happier. So the church actually lasted 10 to 15 years or so, and it wasn't long after Larry and I and our son moved to this area in Michigan that he dispensed with the Dispensable Church and moved to Arizona with his family. But he was a unique person in that he used every opportunity, every part of his life, his own life with his work and his family, as teaching tools for the rest of us. So I'm going to talk about these 3 books a little bit and give you some quotes from these 3 books. One of his other books, and I don't have it with me, is How to Live in the World and Still Be Happy. And his work is just very spontaneous and very practical. And he was a funny man. So my favorite book, well, so far, this is at least 40. I have a little story about the book. Santa Fe is located at the base of mountains, and at 9,000 feet, you get a trail to the top of Mount Baldy. And I was going for a hike with my roommate Stephen Hazen, and I took this book along, this book, and it's an all-day hike, just all day. just, it's about 2 hours down, but it's about 8 hours up, because you're walking and then climbing, it's a long way. And we were climbing, then through meadow. I mean, in the spring, the flowers are all blooming on the mountains. The kind of flowers you never see in Santa Fe, because Santa Fe is much, much, much drier than it is up in the mountains. And it was wonderful in a sense, because you go for a walk in the mountains, and I saw all the wildflowers from my childhood. It was just wonderful. What a nice experience that was. Anyway, we had lunch, and I started reading aloud. This book. I don't remember what I read, but it was interesting what happened as a result of reading the book. We've made it up to the top, and I mean, the vista is just like something out of this world. Then we started down, and I kept feeling better and better as a result of reading these words out loud. It was just amazing and fantastic and funny. It was funny. When I first began trying to be myself, I at times felt trapped by my feelings. I couldn't change them. I was stuck with them, and shouldn't try to even if I could. I saw many negative feelings inside me that I didn't want, and yet I felt I must express them if I were going to be myself. Since then, I realized that my feelings do change, and that I can have a hand in changing them. They change simply by my becoming aware of them, just simply becoming aware of them. When I acknowledge my feelings, they become more positive, and they change when I express them. Anyone who inhabits himself cannot believe in objective thinking. I object to objective thinking. Now that I know I'm wiser than anyone else, does this wisdom make me wiser? Anyway, it goes on like that. It's wonderful. So this is a fun book, and I gave it to the library because I never did any of these games. But I read them. I mean, I was reading them when I was getting ready for this, and I just thought, what? We play games all the time. I play dress-up games, I dress up, I wear jewelry, I make things, I wear my fun new shoes, and I play dress-up games. Anyway, this game, this is the first game, but he says, an entirely peaceful approach will produce a wholly peaceful result. These are peace games. They are, friends and strangers, which I'll talk a little bit about. But they're just simple games you play with yourself, and I suppose you can play them with other people and then come back and discuss what you observed. These are games of a different sort. Each lends to the removal of some block of our awareness of love, and thereby promotes our recognition that we are not alone in life. These blocks will melt in consistent but joyous play. So this first game, you are now a secret agent from a foreign kingdom, The mission your king has personally commissioned to you is as clearly defined as was that of the famous seductresses of the First and Second World Wars, whose objective was to obtain military secrets. To this end, they could say or do anything. Your objective is not to get, but only to have. You are to have peace with whomever you encounter. To this end, you can say or do anything. In fact, you are not to be concerned at all with your behavior or with how another acts toward you, nor are you to distinguish between external encounters and ones that take place only in what you think of as your mind. Each time you succeed in allowing even an instant of goodwill between you and another, your duty will be to report this back to your king. This you will do by means of a mental transmitting device which has already been installed. The code phrase you are to say is, "Thank you." But just try that. It was so fun. It's just that these games are so fun. Okay, this is a different game. You're going to do something for your friends today that they will love. You're going to see them as strangers. Nor will strangers themselves be left out of your kindness, for they will become old friends. Simply see every friend as a stranger and every stranger as a friend. Pretend you have heard that this friend has undergone a complete personality transplant, or pretend that he has been possessed by an angel. He looks familiar, but don't be fooled. See how many new things you can recognize about him. Notice your delight at each new discovery. For remember, he is totally different within. This is a game, but what you are seeing is not self-delusion. And with each stranger you meet today, say to yourself, "There walks my lifelong friend. I'll know everything there is to know about him. Remember his birthday, remember his birth, his childhood, the pains and disappointments he has had, and also the momentary highs and cresting victories. And then recall the underlying turnings of fate that has been the steady emergence of his lovely self. All that is true of you is true of him. You can love him without hesitation. By exercising your ability to remember this instant, you will see clearly that all that is real is now, and all that is now is new, and all that is new is forever and forever." And that's the Book of Games. So the third book is, I'm going to move these books. There is a place where you are not alone. He talks about a time when he was called to sit and listen. The style is familiar to notes to myself, which are, it's just pages with words on them. He calls it his diary, but there's no dates. And it's just an inquiry into his own mind. There is a place where you are not alone. As we are to each other, so is God to us. If I separate myself from you by believing that I have some special spiritual connection, I have, in my own mind, cut myself off from what joins me to you, and therefore to love itself. So the Course in Miracles talks about a lot about separation and how we've separated ourselves from each other. Therefore, my decision to live as if this new perception was true, and if the question of whether God exists cannot be answered in the terms in which we ask it, Yet the improvement in the quality of your life cannot be denied whenever we assume that God does exist. Why then delay making that assumption? Why choose to be right instead of happy when there is no way to be right? And of course, this is what the Course in Miracles talks a lot about. Would you rather be right or happy? Dave Bell always used to talk about that too. Would you rather be right or happy? There is only one dreamer, dreaming the same dream over and over, each time taking a different path. When he has taken all the paths, the dream will be over. Of course, I am alone in the dream. It is a dream of separation. I like this part. We can't make the world work. There is no way to use it. We believe that if we could only change this one thing within the situation, it would serve us well. But that assumes all things will remain equal. We are now asking that they not remain equal because we want things to change. The situation cannot stay the same while one thing within it changes. Because once one thing changes, everything changes. How do I forgive? I believe it can be this simple. I just forget it. Forgiveness and the willingness to be happy are the same. And the substance of a thought is the peace it brings. So I want to talk a little bit about forgiveness, a little bit about compassion. Forgiveness is the purpose and the lesson of the Course in Miracles. It is usually seen by how we treat each other. It is easily seen by how we treat each other with love and kindness here in this spiritual community. I can't even, it's just so amazing what I've learned and what I have experienced and what I take away from being part of this community. It's just, it's changed my life over the course of 26 years. And I don't ask me how, but I know I'm a different person than when we all arrived in the beginning. I'm a different person. One of the quotes from A Course in Miracles is, the holiest place on earth is where an ancient hatred has become a present love. And it's not that I was hating anything particularly, but my life has certainly changed. Erin speaks through Barbara Brodsky. She has an interesting take on forgiveness and compassion, saying that if you have compassion, you don't need forgiveness, because you understand that with compassion, you know that you do not have any kind of complete understanding why any person does what they do. And you don't know why a person will say what they say. And each of us has had a different upbringing with different kinds of trauma, even in the same family, such as an individual child will have a very different concept or idea of what happened in the family. And occasionally, I mean, I don't get together with my family only about 10 or 20 years, but if we try to compare notes, it's like different families. I have an older sister who's a psychologist, and her way of being is just totally different from mine. I mean, and of course, I don't understand her that well, and she certainly doesn't understand me. And so and yet we were in the same house. We made the same cookies and pies and cakes and ate the same food and worked in the garden so we could eat the rest of the year. So compassion is that wholehearted oneness, openness with which we regard each other, our ability to see from the point of view of another person with an understanding and sensitivity to their suffering. So the other day, my PT provider, who's new to me, I said, "You've had a lot of trauma lately," and I didn't think of it as trauma, but I guess it's trauma. I couldn't work when the pandemic started. I couldn't work at my massage therapy, and I had been just diagnosed with breast cancer. I spent a year and a half being treated, and then my husband died. So, yeah, I guess that's trauma. It is. I mean, it's trauma. I guess we all have a certain amount of pain and suffering, and I guess I thought a difficult childhood was normal, and maybe it is. I met one person who had a completely painless childhood. He was one of my clients from near Santa Fe. So, I mean, because I've been doing that work for 45 years. and speaking of 45 years, later this month I'll be 79 years old. I mean, it's just. So I have a lot of compassion for those people whose family I was in, because, and I think that trauma, that childhood trauma has to be, it doesn't have to be healed. Some people go through life and it never is. But we can forgive it. We can reach out of that black plastic bag of life into the light. So a quote from Aaron, not exactly a quote, but an idea from Aaron speaking through Barbara Brodsky that I really like is something about the part of you that can witness the pain, that can witness the trauma, is not in pain. It's something, it's probably one of the information from Aaron that I appreciate the most, because it helps me understand that there is a divine part of me. There is, I'm not just surrounded by the love of God, I'm infused with it at all times. So my message, oh my gosh, it's late. I have another little story. Oh no, we're going to sing. Well, my message to everyone is keep laughing. And Hugh Prather's favorite song was Row, Row, Row Your Boat. So we're going to sing it 3 times.
Here we go, 2, 3. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, merrily, gently down the stream.
Merrily, 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 life is but a dream.
Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream.
Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. You would always point out that there's 3 rows to 4 merrilies. And that's